listening to Anthony on the Virus, Sirius XM.
There should be an expiration date, I think, on a gun license.
Yeah, there are.
But I think that should be the way it is. I mean, it's hard because we live in an imperfect world and most people are douchebags.
Most people are idiots.
So it's just the way it is, and it's just this thing. I don't know, when you people that live in the country and have guns, it's like a hammer. It's just a tool. It's not that big a deal.
You're right. It's like anything else. But you do have a constitutional right to own these things.
Yeah. By the way, it's the Second Amendment. It's not like it's like the 48th obscure amendment. It's the Second
Amendment.
You got to be able to say whatever you want,
and then shoot whoever doesn't like it.
Shoot whoever doesn't like what you said. I want to be in a house saying "F you" with a gun in my lap. That's what I want. That's what the basic American rights.
That is pretty much what the founding fathers wanted.
Yeah, and there's people who live in cultures that are not gun cultures, and it's offensive to them because they don't know what it means to have that. You know, just like there's people who think that you're supposed to just parrot Jesus words at each other, and so they don't get how important it is to be able to say whatever you want.
These anti-gun advocates are ridiculous if they can't see that a gun ban in D.C. and in Chicago, by the way, does nothing. It hasn't done anything. It doesn't deter crime. If they're talking about accidental shootings, that happens. It does. And again, you got to be responsible. You got to be so responsible with a gun. Some people aren't responsible enough.
Yep. I get nervous with my fake gun. Like
really?
My kid, Brandon Lee got.
Well, I was thinking John Eric Hexum years ago. John Eric Hexum. He was filming a TV series he was on, and he put a blank gun to his head and pulled the trigger.
Idiot.
And the charge dislodged a piece of his skull as if it was a bullet and put it right through his brain.
Dead idiot. Dead fool.
There's a charge that explodes when you do that.
Oh, yeah. A blank is
a big, nasty orange flame comes out the front.
A blank is nothing but a bullet without the lead in it.
Without the lead.
But so it fires like the powder?
Oh, yeah. And you still get the same energy coming out of the barrel. So if something's at the front of the barrel, like your skull, it's just going to bust out and go through your brain.
Yeah. He thought it was like a little...
Yeah, I don't know what he thought.
He shot himself in the head with his head.
Right. Yeah. He used his own head to kill himself.
Because he's stupid, and he's probably smarter now than when he was alive.
Yeah.
You're listening to Anthony.
A carefully worded statement from Barack Obama tonight. He suggests the court isn't saying you can't have common sense gun laws, just that this particular case violates a basic principle. John McCain calls the ruling a recognition that gun ownership is a sacred fundamental right.
Sacred is getting a little...
Sacred.
Yeah, get a hold of yourself.
Call it that. I say call it sacred because people don't understand.
Those dudes are really,
it is weird,
about as sincere as your apology to the Menino.
All right. Hey, the Supreme Court one day rules very liberal that you can't put the child molesters, child rapists to death, and then this conservative ruling. It's really weird.
Yeah, this isn't even really a conservative ruling. Yes, this is a constitutional.
No, both of those rulings are actually a good Supreme Court behavior because they're both saying, regardless of how people are upset about something right now, you can't just start changing stuff. You can't. There's a line you can't cross with the death penalty, and there's a fundamental, ancient, basic right to handguns. And regardless of the statistics of today or how things are going in D.C. or how mad people are about these, you can't change stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with, yes, child molestation is, on the rise, but you still can't. You can't start killing people for a crime that's getting particularly rampant and repulsive to people.
But why can't you change stuff?
It's not murder.
Well, don't forget, why can't you, though, when this was written, this was just written by guys. Like, it's not like this, why should this document be so completely unchangeable and sacred when it was written by, we all know slave owners.
Well, because when you change law, like if you just let it rock back and forth and pendulum back and forth, I think it's dangerous to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's good that you can't.
Then it's not worth the paper it's written on.
But it's supposed to be changeable.
There's going to be
to what extent?
There's going to be a day when you're going to get, I don't know, you don't drink, right? You're like a sober guy, aren't you?
Like a sober guy.
The right woman's going to drive you back into the bottle. You're going to have a bad night, and you're going to wake up in a kiddie park, not realizing where you passed out with wood chips on your face, and you're going to pee on a fire engine toy, and there's going to be a kid standing there watching you pee, and next thing you know, you're on death row.
Yeah, right? There you go.
There's this basic line that you got to let.
I'll take that chance. The odds of those things happening, if I wind up doing that and get caught, I deserve to be put to death. Because a fire truck is only every boy's right.
They're also talking about New York City's laws, their gun laws, and Mayor Bloomberg, of course, is saying that this shouldn't affect New York City, which, by the way, is just a pain in the ass to get a pistol license.
But you can get one here.
You need to show cause. You need to have a reason. You can't just say, my reason? Because there are lunatics running around and they have guns.
Yeah.
Why can't I? Why, I'm willing to get a background check.
How'd you get one?
I have a New York State license. I cannot carry my gun in the city.
Oh, right, okay.
So I'm there's supposed to be certain people working on that. I haven't heard anything yet. But, because it's one of those things. It should be your right. I think they're screwing up here in New York City. I think it's against the Second Amendment, and I hope the D.C. thing sets a precedent, and people in Chicago are able to get handguns, and I hope they make it easier in New York for law-abiding citizens. I'm talking people that are responsible and go through the system and are able to then possess a handgun.
This is an example of how, like, old ideals carry through time. The way that dictators take over countries, they use laws. They don't do it through... Like Hitler used law...
He played it perfectly.
Parliamentary process in order to become chancellor.
All of a sudden, he was the head muckety-muck.
Yeah, so...
It was handed to him.
So he changed laws. He changed laws because he was able to. He had large powers, so he just said, "Okay, everybody, turn in your weapons." You disarm. The two things you do when you take over a country as a dictator is you shut people up and you take away their weapons. You say everybody has to bring. If you're found with a gun, you go to jail. That's a new law. We just made it up. Okay, next law, if you say these salacious things, you go to jail.
Yeah.
Those two things lead the next day you're Hitler.
And that's absolutely
But you can't do that in America. You just can't do it. You can't tell people you can't say something, and you can't tell people, well, you can, but it's...
That's why they put it in the Constitution.
Yep.
To protect the American people against a tyrannical government, because the government has to know, holy crap, these people are armed.
But it was
They're the same people that got England thrown out of here just by having their hunting rifles with them.
In their houses.
Yeah, everyone is armed. We're crazy if we think we can just sweep over these people and
exactly
be a tyrannical government.
It was to protect from basically an external force coming into. I'm not against guns.
No,
either.
but also it's not an external
really
force.
Protecting against their own government.
Their own government.
Because they saw how that worked in England, where they were.
And it's the same thing with the government's ability to punish people by death, by using laws against the citizens.
But if you have guns to protect yourself from your own government, why all of a sudden can't you change the laws? Like if that's how bad things can get, why is it so out of the realm of possibility or to change?
Well, that's the whole thing. It would be bad because they'd be changing the laws.
Because we have an because we have a constitution that we keep going back to, so you just can't. As a new leader, say, okay, no more guns. You just can't do it, and you can't say, okay, you can't say these things because the Constitution is so bedrock.
But you know what?
That's why when things change, you don't want to.
It's overrated.
I don't think so.
It really is when you look at it. I mean, there's a lot of it was great, but some of it might be a bit outdated. It was written by a bunch of guys protecting their own interest at that time.
I think fundamentally it's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
It's worth defending.
Yeah, to a certain point, but
from decade to decade, it holds up better than somebody with a fiery speech ability to just change stuff. Sorry, that music means I got to shut up. I think there's douchebags on both sides.
Oh.
I think that guy from that clip who's going like, I'm glad now I can defend. Nothing's ever happened to him. Nothing ever will happen to him.
You never
But he's
know.
enjoying, I'm glad I now get to have a gun and an erection without people bothering me.
Guns are great to have. It's a great
sure it's
feeling
very
of
enjoyable.
security.
Yeah.
It's great to go to the range, blast off
I
some
think
rounds.
a lot of people that want to have guns are stupid and they're morons. But then there's people who aren't. Guess which one you are.
Still trying to figure that one out.
Sirius XM, the virus. You're listening to Anthony.